So Joe Biden, the White House kind of approved, gave a thumbs up for this particular Senate bill that was about to hit the floor. Came out of committee the other day, and the majority of the money, billions and billions of dollars, but the majority of the money was going to go to Ukraine and not Israel. I think Israel was going to get less than $20 billion. More money for the border, you know what I'm saying? And I've been waiting for something like this for quite some time because I knew in my heart of hearts, and I hope not, and we still don't know because it looks like it's going to be blocked, that if they did a bill that had still a majority of money going to Ukraine for weapons and, and whatnot, and we can see like they're trying to jostle one last coin out of this whole money laundering scheme. But if they had a bill come up and they did it in the Senate, Chuck Schumer, we played the video the other day, where they had the majority of the money going to Ukraine. However, they threw a few bucks at the border. Would the Republicans take the bait? That was the big question I was asking. Would you think they would? Yes or no? This particular bill, the way it is, do you think the House would be able to get this passed with the fact that a lot of money was going to Ukraine?
Well, I think they didn't, right? I think it failed.
Well, no, because that's what's up next over here. Well, quickly, the House tried that they failed on a standalone bill to Israel, where the Democrats, and it's so crazy because the Democrats can come out of this looking like they're standing up for the people of Gaza, whatnot. They're not going to do that, but they want that other bill to come through because every single Democrat in the House and the Senate want to support the war against Vladimir Putin and the Russian Federation.
Well, all right, like my congressional representative, as I say laughingly, is Mike Lawler. He's a Republican, and he is about as virulent a supporter of Ukraine and as hateful and he's an anti-Russian as I've ever met. He is on the board of this Helsinki committee that, their mission is to decolonize Russia, as they put it, which means to basically knock down the government and break it up into 12 or 15 little countries that they claim that's the natural state there, that the Russian Federation is nothing but the Russian Empire in a different form, and that there are all these conquered nations that are part of it that need to be freed. I'm looking at the circus that's going on in both houses. We know, first of all, that I dare to say all 535 members of the two houses of Congress are there because they have a stamp of approval from AIPAC and the rest of the Israel lobby. Chuck Schumer himself, who is the Senate Majority Leader, you saw on Jimmy Dore's show yesterday or the day before, announcing in front of a group that he is a guardian of Israel, that that's part of his job in the Senate, and almost religious, mystical language he used as this. I thought we were paying him to be a U.S. senator or to legislate, things to deal with public policy in the United States, but it's not how he sees it. So in terms of whether or not at the end of the day is Israel going to get money, bet your ass they're going to get whatever anybody decides that they need or want. Yeah. There are also, of course, the actual, I would say, gravitational forces that operate in Washington. And that is wherever you can find a drain that you can pour money into that will empty into somebody's bank account somewhere on the other side. They'll look for the largest one they can. And just looking at the numbers, if you're going to kill people, there's 150 million Russians, and there's only like 4 or 5 million Palestinians. And so if you're going to make money killing people, you're going to run out of Palestinians long before your appetite for money runs out. And so there's going to be a priority to keep feeding the machine, keep stoking the machine that's going on in and around Ukraine. Even after whatever happens in Palestine is settled.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means for this immediate cash bonanza that's going to be appended to the budget, Israel certainly has no military need to fire another weapon for a good long while. And so they could skate through this year and next year if that's how the politics of it plays out, and just get the non-military aid that they get from the United States and funnel all the military aid and the big bucks again at Ukraine. They did do an awful lot of machination in Kiev and around Kiev over particularly the last 2 days, but they've been positioning for it for a month or 2 or 3. That's the sacking of the head of the military, Zaluzhny, and there was a whole dance that was going on around that where he was sending signals that the right sector and Azov and all that maybe might take out Zelensky if he did that. Vicky Nuland had to go over there.
The boss showed up, though. That's the problem. The boss showed up.
That tells me that no matter what kind of, I'll use the political terminology, political science terminology, no matter what kind of bullshit comes out of their mouths about not funding Ukraine, I'm expecting at the end of the day that money's going to be, dished out. It's possible it won't be. I think that there are some folks that are in the Congress that have an ideological problem with that, and playing their power at the margins, they're in a position to block it. It's a question of whether people like Schumer and McConnell and Hakeem Jeffries and what's his name, McCarthy, whatever the hell his name is.
Well, what do you think, really quickly, Hakeem Jeffries, right? So really quickly, take Don. I want to go through this real quickly because I want to just ask you this question. When it comes to Hakeem Jeffries and other Democratic AIPAC lobbyist shills like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, House fails to pass standalone Israel aid bill as Senate package stalls. Washington, okay? The House on Tuesday rejected a standalone bill to send billions of dollars in aid to Israel, with Republicans joining Democrats to defeat the effort to separate the assistance from the broader national security package that appears to be stalled in the Senate. By a vote of 250 to 180, the House voted against the legislation that would send $17.6 billion to Israel, with 166 Democrats and 14 Republicans opposing the measure. So they needed those Republicans to get that, so the 2/3 couldn't get through. The bill required the support of 2/3 of the House to pass. House Speaker Mike Johnson, a Louisiana Republican, called for the vote's failure a disappointing rebuke to our closest allies in the Middle East at their time of the greatest need, of their great need, excuse me. He said the GOP made a major concession by putting a clean standalone bill up for a vote to address Democrats' previous concerns. It is clear they are now committed to using Israel aid to leverage to force through other priorities that do not enjoy nearly the same degree of consensus, Johnson's statement said. Leveraging Israel aid as it fights for its survival is wrong. And here is Speaker Johnson with his comment real quick. Go ahead and play this, Jamie. Let's listen to what Speaker Johnson said. Shameful. And I want to know your opinion out there, ladies and gentlemen, what you think this means for a lot of AIPAC-friendly Democrats who are willing to say Israel doesn't get their money unless Ukraine gets their money. Take a listen.
Morning, everyone. Got a couple of things to share with you here. Let's be clear about what happened last night. The President of the United States threatened a veto on the Israel funding package. Chuck Schumer then said that he would put a blockade up in the Senate. And he had 166 House Democrats who followed Leader Hakeem Jeffries off that cliff. They took that lead and they blocked the funding. Let's be clear about this. That bill provided exactly the amount of funding that the president himself had requested. It was $14.3 billion that we passed 3 months ago. And then we added to it to replace our stockpiles and our munitions on what's happening in that region. There is no reason whatsoever for them to object to the contents of that bill. They're doing it for political purposes. It's bad for national security. It's also terrible policy and terrible politics. The president of the United States has a 37% approval rating. If they're going to follow that lead, I think they did it to their detriment. And it's a very shameful thing at a time when our ally Israel needs the help desperately.
Don, there is some political cover here that they can use. They obviously want the money for something else, right? This is not really about necessarily. This is not about the fact that they want to block Israel from getting money, where they can stand behind their tell their voters and whatnot. Look what we're doing. We want a ceasefire. They're not getting their money until they have the ceasefire. No, they simply want the money for Ukraine. And they're not budging until they get that other bill passed, because what do they hear? They hear the mainstream media talking about, oh, this bill is the most bipartisan bill to come out in so long. Even the Washington Post and all these other groups are saying that this bill is worthy of passing. So what are your thoughts on that? What are people like Hakeem Jeffries and Debbie Wasserman Schultz, when they're on the horn with a lot of people from Israel, when they're on the phone with Bibi, what are they saying to Netanyahu?
Everyone involved, except for the American people, knows that this is absolute bullshit. Israel wants a dime. They're going to have a quarter in a moment before the word dime is articulated. This is, as you said, being used to leverage the Ukraine money, because there is some opposition in the government to that, and there's the possibility, strong possibility, that it's going to be, political hay made over the course of the presidential campaign over this. Trump is bringing this up big time, and it's got a constituency. He's got about half the electorate. So those people in the House of Representatives are all running for re-election this year. If half the electorate doesn't want Ukraine funding, that means half the Congress members in one fashion or another are going to have to block the funding, or half the Congress members are going to be replaced by people promising to block the Ukraine funding for next year. So, this is a Hail Mary on their part for this, but money to Israel is not even on the table. All right. That money is probably already wired into an account wherever, and it hasn't been allocated yet or appropriated, but it's there. They can draw on it whenever they want. So,
yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Don, thank you so much for joining me today, man. I love you, and I look forward to seeing you soon when I get out to New York, brother.
Yeah, get your ass up here, bro.
It's too cold. I'm going to wait a little bit longer until it gets closer to spring. How cold is it outside?
Well, today it was almost 50, and tomorrow it's going to be almost 60, actually.
Almost 50, almost 60. Yeah, it's high 70s here in South Florida, buddy.
I know my woman friend Margot was down there, and she was on Miami Beach, South Beach today. So, and it was 77, I think, when I saw her at her frosty drink.
Yep, that's the truth, brother. We love you. Go check out Don's work, everybody. YouTube still plays those crazy games where they like to unsubscribe people for whatever reason. I don't know if it's part of an algorithm or whatnot, but make sure you're subscribed and make sure you hit that bell and like, share, subscribe to the show. We're going to have this whole show clipped up. We're going to do it the same way we've been doing it on the Convo Couch for many years. We do a whole show, a live show, and then we have certain segments. We're going to repost the segments out there so you can share the shorter versions of the subjects that you like or that you want to share. And that's the most important thing you can do. A lot of us don't have any coin to spare, but we can share, right? That rhymed. We don't have any coin to spare, but we can share. So do me a favor and share.